Hi guys, this is Maciek. Today I'm going to show you how to create the floating IPs and assign them to instances on Pllama2. This is an OpenStack environment. To start playing with the floating IPs, I need to create a network. The first network that we're gonna use is gonna be an internal one. So click on the network and choose networks. Now what you can see, those are the networks available for your project. The FIP net is the shared and it's reachable for every single user inside of the Pllama, so be aware not to change and not to mess anything with that. You want to create a network. This network, let's say we're gonna call it my local network, and this is gonna be an OpenStack managed subnet, so don't change that anyway. The default values are fine. In subnet, just type in the IP address of the network that you're gonna use, point the gateway, and for the subnet details, just leave it enable DHCP. This is going to be useful unless you want to have the allocation pool defined, which can be done with those tips. Once we fill up the form, press create and wait a few seconds. Now when my network is created, I can go to the routers. Router is gonna make a NAT for the network that we are gonna use. This is gonna be a router. Let's treat this like a home router or the generic one. It doesn't have any fancy features, but anyway, it's gonna be used for our translation of the local IP address into the IP address that is external, and it's going out for the floating IP. So let's call it my FIP router, and let's leave it all as it is. So don't external network, choose FIPnet1. This is the FIP network that's gonna be getting IP address out of, and create router. This is most of the things that needs to be done. Don't forget about adding interface from your network. Let's go into the routers, interfaces, and let's add interface from my subnet that we have created a few seconds before. By default, it's going to use the gateway IP address, so all traffic that's going to be undefined and it has a default route is going to go into this one. Okay, so most of the networking part is done. Now let's make an instance. Let's launch some small instance, for example, my test. I want it to be a Ceros. I want to have the flavor. Network is already connected because this is the only network that I have right now. If it's more than one network, you will be asked for choose which interface assigned to. You can also put the network port if you have, and security groups and configuration and all the sort of things that you can do with the keys like the metadata. So basically this is only the basic one, and let's launch the instance. Okay, my instance is being built. Let's wait for spawning. We also need to wait a few seconds until it's loaded. You can see that the system is loading. In the meantime, we can associate a floating IP. In this form, you need to choose the floating IP. For now, we have none. So what we need to do is press this plus button and wait to another form to appear. From the FIPnet1, we choose allocate IP address. So now system is going to reserve one of the IP addresses and assign it to our project. Once it's done, we'll be asked to choose the port to associate. In this example, we have only one port, which was 181 on my test instance. But if you have more routers, VMs, whatsoever, you're going to be asked to which port you want to associate that. So let's press associate. And it's success. Let's check if it works. Now need to go into the console. Let's log in. As you can see, there is only two interfaces, the loopback and Ethernet 0, which has 192.168.0.181. The default route is gonna go into the gateway, and let's test if it works if you have the connectivity to the gateway of the floating IP. As you can see, it's reaching the destination. Let's check, for example, different subnet, well-known IP address, and it works. Okay, now let's test connectivity from outside. This is my command line. And first thing we need to see what's the IP address. Okay, with the IP address, you will see your interfaces and your networks. So once you have the interface with two IP addresses, you can be sure that this is assigned to this port. So there is a network connected, and the floating IP is connected to that network. Okay, let's test the connectivity from outside. We have checked that the IP address was assigned, and it was 135.171.51.47. So let's test with the sending a ping to that IP address, 51.47. Okay, it works. So let's try to SSH into that. Okay, we were asked for password, and we're in. So the floating IP is working, and this is all for that video. Thanks for watching. I hope it's going to be helpful for you, and stay tuned for more. Thanks.